Welcome to the Soul Driven Podcast. I believe that when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. If you are searching for meaning and purpose, if you are unsure about how to combine the spiritual with the everyday, if you are ready to uncover who you truly are, then you've come to the right place. The Soul Driven Podcast is dedicated to exploring the intersection of living a soulful and spiritual life in a driven and ambitious world. Join me for practical guidance, truthful discussions, and interviews with people who are successfully living a soul-driven life. My name is Anna Hendricks, spiritual guide, marketer, and your host. Thank you for being here. What's up, folks? Welcome back to another soul-driven monthly Akashic record lesson, aka reading, aka forecast for what's ahead. Oof, March. It's a doozy, y'all. No, not really. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for being here. Happy to have you. Happy. And oh my gosh, I feel like, it should just be a part of every episode, like the monthly episode, kind of like, can you believe it is fill in the blank, whatever month it is that's coming. Right? Time is really speeding up though, and it's pretty wild. However, I still feel like the first 2 months of the year were pretty slow. Anyway, I digress. I am very excited to dive into this month's reading, the integration, all of the things. If you are new to the podcast, what is up and welcome. Kind of how it rolls here for the monthly episode, which is getting ready to change. So actually, I should say just on this monthly episode, you will be enjoying the reading, and then I'll bounce back for the integration, kind of just talking about the message. I do an overview of the astrology for the month and pull a card. And yeah, so my number one big announcement for this month, this podcast, all the things. I'm really excited. This is something that I've been guided to do. Gonna give it a try, gonna see how it goes. But we're gonna start doing these monthly integrations live. And so as of April, next month, there will be a live event that you can attend where you can come. We will reshare the reading. We will talk about it. I'm going to channel through an activation for you from the Akashic Records that is aligned with whatever the month's theme is, just to help you really ground into it, settle into that energy, find your space, find your home. It's going to be a beautiful activation. I can't wait. And then we will dive in and talk about the reading for the month ahead, do some high points. I'm definitely going to want to get your participation. Probably be calling some folks up to share about the things that resonated with you. And then do some astrology, pull some cards, have some fun, answer some questions. So it's really just going to be a beautiful time of community. And these events are going to be taking place the week after the monthly reading goes live. And so it'll either be on a Monday or a Wednesday of the following Wednesday. And you will be able to find the link under events on the website. It may not be live actually until I think later. Today being the new moon. Yep. I'll be posting a link in the show notes for the events page. Moving forward, that's where all of the events are going to be, including the workshops. But before I bounce to those real quick, I hope you come and hang out and that you are a part. I would love to get to know you. If you've been enjoying these monthly readings, awesome. If you are down for some activation because you want some extra love for the month ahead, please come. I have started doing activations through the Akashic Records, and they're beautiful. Anything to do with the Akashic Records makes me really happy, and I'm so honored and thankful and grateful. And I'll save my mushy moo for another day. So anyway, make sure to check those out. I'll be like sharing links in the upcoming episodes as well, where you can find those to sign up. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm excited. Going to try it out. Going to see how it goes. There's just such a big call right now for community and being around like-minded people, being in the presence of others, and learning from one another. And that's really what I want these to turn into, is a beautiful time of sharing and of being a part. So anyway, hope you'll join. Second announcement. So the workshops in March sold out. What's up? Such a pleasure. I may have not shared on this podcast. I think I have. I feel like I talk to you all so much that I can't fully keep up with what it is I've said. But teaching was always, it was a childhood dream. Like I took home all my teachers like discarded teaching materials and would subject my poor friends to playing class. They were the student, I was the teacher. And I never intended on stepping into this role in a digital type of way, especially not with the Akashic Records. In my marketing career, I was put in the role of teacher a couple of times and loved it. The thing is I'm just one of these people that made me really good for sales too. When I love something, I want others to love it. I want to introduce others to it. Like when I learned how to read, I literally went home and taught my siblings how to read, because it was just like, oh my gosh, it opened up my world in such a completely different way. And I wanted other people to, I wanted my siblings to be able to enjoy it. And I'm that kind of nerd. So it has been such a pleasure to be teaching folks about the Akashic Records, how to practice in the records. You can check out the show notes for a link to March's. I won't be doing an in-person in March. The first in-person Akashic Access the Akashic Records workshop will be on the 4th of April. So if you are local to Wilmington, North Carolina, and you fell in love with those photos and videos I was sharing from the Piranha Salt Cave where I teach, come. Would love to have you. Such a beautiful sacred time with folks. And I love, oh my gosh, do I love seeing people experience the records for the first time. And it's so funny because like towards the end of the class, after everyone, goes into the records, they come back to share. And folks will be like, yeah, so I went in and this happened and this had, but I don't really think anything happened. I think, like I'm not sure. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Holy crap, this is what happened, whatever the case may be. It's such a beautiful time. So if you have been curious about the Akashic Records, whatever the case may be, come and join online, in person. Well, I should just say in person or online for now. March 21st, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can't make it live, not a problem. I send out the replay. I give folks tools, meditations, all kind of stuff, plus access to the Akashic Soul Collective, which is a private community of folks that I've taught, because you're going to need community and you're going to want continued education, a place to ask questions. So that was something that I created. And it's not on social media. It's on Telegram. So anyway, the Akashic Records and March. What's up? So February, not really going to say. February was such a weird month for me, and I'm curious to know what it was like for you. The theme for February was Plant a Firm Foundation, and yeah, that is absolutely what I was being called to do all month. In fact, I think I'll be continuing to do that moving forward. That's just kind of where I'm personally at right now, but that was something, I think the energy in February, it was just strange to me. It was up, it was down. It didn't feel as busy as it actually was. And then towards the very end of the month, it was just like I was slammed. I could barely keep my eyes open, not sleeping, just all kinds of things. Just, yeah. See you February. Much love. But it was a beautiful month for really starting to set down some grounding for planning a firm foundation. And if I had been better about following my own advice to listen to these monthly recordings like once a week, I think I would have been a little bit better at keeping a firm foundation. It's one of those things where I don't know. I don't even know how to describe February, but I'm curious to know how February was for you. So definitely feel free to share. Hit me up on social, send me an email, souldrivenpodcast@gmail.com. I love to hear from you all. But yeah, here we are in March, and we've got a big month ahead. It's going to be a beautiful month, and I'm excited to dive into the reading with you. I'm going to be saving the kind of breakdown for the message and the astrology and all that for after the reading, so I will kind of hush myself up now because I want to dive into it all. Anyway, okay, so again, if you haven't been here before, the Akashic Records, what are they? This is something that I answer differently depending on who I'm talking to. For folks who have no idea what the metaphysical world is about, a really easy way to understand the Akashic Records is to think about Google Cloud, Apple Cloud, you put photos, writings, memories, important information, whatever the case may be, in this cloud, and then 10 years later you can go back, pull it out, check it out, look at it, enjoy it, whatever the case may be. This is how the Akashic Records work. And the Akashic Records are energy. It's energy that exists around us at all times. It's in a very high frequency. I utilize a sacred prayer in order to elevate myself to that high frequency and access the Akashic Records, where you can get a hold of information from any past, present, future thing, because everything is energy, whether it's the wall, the floor beneath me, or myself. Everything is energy, and so everything has an Akashic Record. It's a whole thing. It's pretty awesome. And I love channeling through the monthly readings because it was a really vulnerable thing for me to start doing, because it was kind of like I was saying, this is how the month is going to feel. And thankfully, I have disconnected from ego in a lot of ways with that. And now I'm kind of just like, it's not me, it's the Akashic Records. And taking that pressure off of myself. It always was the Akashic Records, but I felt like I had to be responsible. The beautiful thing is they are so much wiser than I am. And so I access the Akashic Records for the listeners of the Soul Driven podcast. So whether you are a regular listener or brand new, or you're just popping in for a moment, this message is for you. If you've been called to this, to listen to this, whether it's when it comes out live a year down the road, 5 years down the road, it does not matter. There's something here for you. So I recommend digesting this reading in a quiet place, putting in some headphones, not being distracted. I think this message this month is right around 10 minutes, so not super long. But just really allow yourself to kind of get grounded, centered, and listen to it. Don't try to take every single thing in. Just let it hit you. See what resonates in regards to what is being talked about in the message and how it aligns with your own life. And then, just kind of go from there. Once the reading is over, I suggest hitting pause, writing a couple of things down that really resonated with you, and then coming back and revisiting this every week. I'm going to be listening to myself this month for sure. Because there's always going to be information here for you. So anyway, without further ado, much love. I will see you on the other side. These will bring great times of peril, for much is beginning to take place within the very root of all that is going on. Yes, all that is going on. There are so many changes taking place on planet Earth. that it's difficult for you to keep up with. Yes, we know. And are sorry for these difficult times. But never forget you have chosen to be here. And that means you are here to serve a purpose. You are here to do the things that others cannot. Whether you're listening to this or reading it, you are being called, trumpeted, asked to open up to all that lies locked within you. How will you meet this call? What will you do? But there is much that is coming your way, much that is unfolding, breaking. You will begin to see the cracks in everything so very soon. Hold your steady ground. Dig your feet into the very earth. Let your roots sink deep so that you can withstand the weather that will be taking place around you. There are times ahead that will be very difficult, but this doesn't have to be your experience if you choose for it not to be. If you choose to instead wake up and answer the call that your heart has been sounding for so long. She says, follow me. Pick up where I have left off. Know that what it is I have to tell you will only serve you. Trust me. Trust what comes from within. Know that this will look different for everyone. For each and every heart beats to a different drum, and this is in full alignment for you. Judge not what another drum says. Simply listen to your own. Be loyal to its calling. And do what you can to answer when it calls to you. For things will feel unstable beneath your feet. There will be a steady shift in energy, and you will go from feeling somewhat clear to lost in a hazy mist, and back again, and forth again. It's going to be difficult to keep your grounding, but this is what you must do. Trust in the world around you that it will hold you through these times. Because you are a part of her. You are the eyes and ears, the voice that speaks. The barrage that brings forth the steady movement of her overflow. There will be difficult times ahead. We do not want to lie to you, but choose empowerment instead of fear. Know that you are already equipped to handle all of these times, and that in fact you can do so with joy. Yes, joy. It might seem blasphemous in these times, but find your joy, share your joy, lift up your heart for those in pain. And know that all is rightly placed where it's meant to be. In March, you will feel a steady repacing. Things will ebb and flow. Align with others who are like-minded in heart. You might disagree with the details, but let those go aside, for they are not of importance at this time. No. Stand heart to heart. Hold one another up. But these are not times to let yourself wander off and be weary, alone. Find your tribe. Find those who can help hold you up. You are this. You are needed. Let the confidence flow through you now. Let it wrap itself all around your body. Feel that beautiful energetic pulse as it lifts you higher and higher. These times might seem difficult, but know that everything must crash and burn so that it can be rebuilt. Rebuilt upon the green, beautiful earth. As she comes alive, and in her consciousness, bucks what is not working. Do yourself a favor. Take care of the body in which you reside. Take care of those around you. And find the joy wherever you can. All right. So just kind of starting to come back here. Getting some movement back in your body. If you were like sitting down, maybe just moving your arms, doing something of that nature. Just really allowing yourself to take in the reading, and feel free to pause this and jot down a couple of things that really resonated with you. I am so excited to start doing these portions of this podcast live and to have those interactions with you and see how things resonate and all of that, because, I've talked about this many times on the podcast, but it's like I'm on this side of the microphone and I would love to be having a conversation with you. And be like, okay, so what stood out for you? What is something that came up for you in your own life that connects with maybe something that they said? And we're going to jump into the integration part of that message here in a minute, which is really how things resonate with me. But I just want to validate whatever it is that resonated with you. So if in the midst of my sharing, you felt very differently about something, like, go with that, trust yourself, because you have wisdom within inside of you that is true for you, just like it is true for me. And both can still be truths. Pretty cool, right? um, so kind of to kick things off, like how this message really came through was, it was a bit abrasive. It was definitely intense. It kind of felt like a wave that came through very strong in the beginning and kind of like tapered out towards the ending. But something that I picked up on pretty early in the reading, just in regards to like the energetic feel of it, was a lot of the energy that we're stepping into this month, which I'm going to break down in more depth in a minute, and absolutely once we jump into the astrology for the month. But yeah, it wasn't a super comfortable message to channel through, because I felt like, even I think at one point I felt like I was barking, not like literally like a dog, but like, oh, it's difficult to explain. And I was really thankful when I listened back to it, was like, okay, cool. It's not too intense to listen to. It's okay. It works, it flows like it is. So, but that was kind of the energy, was just like, wake up, And I contemplated titling it that for this month, but I felt like it was something so much deeper than that. Really answering this call, because I think overall this month, we are going to have a lot of opportunities to step into our higher self, to choose the higher route, to make a decision about where our life is headed in a really beautiful way. I think that this month overall is going to be intense, but it's also really going to offer so much opportunity for beautiful creations, beautiful alignments and relationships. And so, yeah, let's kind of dive in. So, talking about March, this year really kind of got off to a bit of a slow start in terms of energy. January was definitely a bit of a shutting down time, even though it was like everyone and their mom got COVID. And yeah, here in the US, it was a pretty intense month. And I really expected the energy going into February to really ramp up, because I could feel like the newness of the year. But I realized about a week or two into February, I was like, it's not here yet. It's not here. And then everything in the past week and a half has been like, it's March. March is going to come blazing in. And then when I checked out the astrology for the month, I was like, whoa, okay. So the year has obviously started. We are clearly almost in the last part of the first quarter of 2022, which is just insanity to me. But things are really starting to ramp up now. And the thing that the records have been talking about for months in regards to building that strong foundation in your life, building that spiritual practice, doing those things for yourself, it is going to become very, very relevant from here moving on, if it hasn't already. And I don't say this to scare you or anything like that. I say it to empower you, just like the records talked about in this reading in particular. Something I love about the records is like, they don't hold back. They definitely let me know when there are things I need to be conscious of or change in my life or do better or anything of that nature. But they always want me to see that from an encouraging point of view. And that is how I encourage you to see it as well. When we have a bit of an understanding about what's coming, then we can choose ahead of time to make those decisions. So I felt it was interesting that, like, kind of kicking off, it talks about great times of peril. And this word peril really stood out to me, because it's kind of like the word trauma, right? There's all different kinds of traumas, and all of them are equally important. But we've got little t trauma, big T trauma. I'm sure you've heard about them discussed in that manner. But, I feel the same way when I think about the word peril, because sure, it could mean something huge. again, as I record this, I don't know what's happening in Ukraine. I don't know what direction those things are going to head, but it could be something really big like that that we experience in this month. Or it could be things that are happening on our everyday one-to-one, because the energy this month is really going to give us a lot of opportunities to bicker, fight, be annoyed, miscommunicate. Like there's definitely going to be some friction in the energy this month. There's going to be a lot of really beautiful energy too. And I'll be diving into that more when I get to the astrology, but I want to kind of specifically focus on like, this is what the records are talking about in the beginning part of this reading about this peril that we'll be experiencing this month. And it's going to look different for all of us, right? But again, don't let it scare you, right? Be encouraged by or empowered by this information and kind of make that decision ahead of time. In that, this is really a time for us to start standing up, right? And that might mean standing up, like voicing our concerns when we find ourselves in peril or in the midst of miscommunication. Standing up might be going for that thing that you really want to go for. Standing up and, I loved when they said, like, you're being called trumpeted, asked to open up to all that lies within you. The thing is as energy continues to ramp up on this planet and things start happening, we're being called more and more to participate. It's going to be harder and harder for us to just like sit at home and hang out and not be a part of things. And that's going to look different for everyone. Like not everyone is called to go out and be an activist or to go volunteer somewhere or anything like that. So there's no shame about whatever it is that is aligned for you, but that it is time. It is time. It is time. We need you. We need whatever it is that you have. We need whatever it is that you love. We need whatever wisdom that you can bring to the table. And whether that is like simply at home with your family or out on the world landscape. Again, all of us are called in different ways and all of them are equal. There's nobody who's better or worse. It's not a thing, even though culturally it's a thing, right? But we all chose to be here. We all chose to be here during these times. And I love how this reading really dove into the heart. I mean, the heart was such a big theme throughout this entire reading. But this is so much about coming home, right? When we come home to ourselves, we're reconnecting with our heart. We're reconnecting with what our heart really wants. I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but, a couple of years back, science uncovered that the heart is the true brain of the body, and it knows things way before the brain even does. The heart is magical. The heart is our core. It's our center. It's our home. It's our home base. And your heart knows when it's involved in something that isn't aligned with someone, whatever the case may be. And, this whole idea of standing up and coming forward or meeting the call, this is also about just listening to your heart. Doing for your heart what is best. Because when you do that, you cannot go wrong. You can't go wrong. Not that you won't mess up. I don't want to say that, but you can't go wrong when you listen to your heart, And I felt like throughout kind of the reading, they put in several different times. It was like, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Difficult times are coming. But then they would remind us, joy, 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 joy. And even that was like very much on the back end of this reading. I think that it's really easy for us to take life super seriously, to want to grind and achieve and do these things. And or we get caught up in the news and everything that's going on around us and we get really serious, right? Or we're just like overwhelmed by all the things that are happening at home. and we get really serious. But life is about fun, it's about play, it's about enjoyment. And you might be totally rolling your eyes and being like, girlfriend, I got bills to pay, I got things I want to do. All of that is equally valid. But what is the freaking point in any of that if you aren't able to enjoy yourself along the way? And that can be done. You can choose. We can take responsibility for our actions, for our attitudes, for the way that we view things. I remember as a kid, in my house, I was often the one who would have to vacuum and those kinds of things. I'm an allergic type person. I'm very sensitive. And so working outside didn't really go well for me. But I got to do things in the house, and I made games out of everything. Like, I literally would have the most fun vacuuming. And just because it was like, I would make a game out of it, or I would choose to see patterns in the carpet. I'm sure that sounds so ridiculous. Even now, I try to make games of like all of my little mundane things that I have to do, right? Or make games of being at work, or make games of whatever the case it may be. I was still able to find my joy when I wanted to be out hanging with my friends, or in my room, or doing other things. We can find joy in moments that we're not a big fan of, in moments of discomfort, if we choose to. And I really want to help push this idea home for you, if this is a difficult one, because it can change our entire experience of life and living. Like our entire experience. We can make a choice at any point in time. And yeah, it's not going to be easy on the front end, but we can learn how to flip that script. Like me growing up with carpet, like not everyone gets to have carpet in your home, right? Not everybody gets to like clean your house with a vacuum cleaner. I've lived in countries before where they had some carpet, but like you had to sweep it. Like, like the thing is if we get our mind in the right place, there's always something to be thankful for. There's always something good to see in that situation, but that is totally up to us. But I want to encourage you to really try and start looking at your life and looking at the things you have to do every day from that perspective, because it will bless you. Life is the greatest gift that we have, period. And our experiences really kind of come down to how we choose for them to be. I'm sure that you've watched a movie or read a book or something of that nature where someone was put in an awful situation and they chose to make something beautiful of it. They're no different from you or I, except for the fact that they made a choice. So I encourage and invite you, and I'm doing the same for myself, to make sure that our perspectives are in the right place. Next thing I wanted to kind of point out is this big reminder I felt like in this reading specifically to really align with like-minded people. And I loved that they were like, you might disagree with the details, but like go with it anyway. It's really okay for us to disagree. In fact, it's good, it's healthy, it's wonderful. I used to always kind of joke / say, but really mean, that I don't learn things from people who just agree with me all the time. And I'm sure that you can agree with that if you think about it. It might feel good, the ego might love it when you say things and everyone agrees. But when you can have a beautiful discourse with someone about a subject that you don't know everything about and see it from a different angle, and it like opens up your mind, those are kind of things I live for. So, but with all this idea right now on this planet, I have to tell you, like, even within the spiritual community, there's a lot of people that are doing things and making decisions for themselves that I don't agree with, that I won't make for myself. I've talked about it before on this podcast. Vaccines is a great one. I made a choice to get a vaccine. That was the choice I made for me. There are people in the spiritual community who choose not to do that, and that's their choice. I can still be friends with them. I can still have respect for them, because what they do is their business, right? And I think that that's something we have to continually come back to, especially as we move forward into 2022. Because I feel like this whole kind of left, right, yes, no, black, white way of living, the polarity is going to intensify. We've got a lot of Mars action in this year, and Mars is an initiator and a motivator and all of those things, which can be wonderful if you're starting a project. But man, oh man, Mars is also, Mars Aries, that war, right? And these are things we have to keep in mind, especially as we move forward, because if nothing else, we need to be kind to each other. And then just really kind of wrapping up here, the records mentioned confidence and feeling confident in yourself, taking care of yourself, taking care of those around you. When we have confidence, it's because, in the world at large, in the universe, in ourselves, it's because we have faith. We believe, my quote, everything happens for my benefit. And I don't know that that's necessarily my quote. I think it's like some version of like a couple of other kinds of quotes. And but that's the quote I always say to myself and try to remind myself of, like especially in the midst of difficult things, like everything happens for my benefit. Everything happens for my benefit. My partner just went away to a retreat, and we were looking at the weather before he was going, and it was like going to be raining, and he was like, oh, I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be nice, because it's like very much like hidden away in nature. And I was like, I totally get it, but maybe the rain will be good for you because it'll help you shut down, right? Because that's what you're going for. And I reminded him, everything happens for our benefit. No, no, no. But it's so true, and in that, finding our confidence, I just completely got lost with myself. So the point being that when we believe that everything happens for our benefit, we can really start to have confidence in the world around us, have confidence in ourselves and our ability, because even if we mess up, we can flip it around, Bottom line, I think this month, it's just, again, really important for us to take care of ourselves, to try to hold on to the priorities that became so clear to us through the hardest of times with the pandemic. Our world is opening back up now. Things are kind of shifting into a new direction, and we can't forget. We can't forget to take care of ourselves, to be with our family, to slow down and do those things. So, especially with the energy coming this month. And with that, let's dive into the astrology. So, caveat, I am not a professional astrologer. I have been studying it since I was a kid, but I can't call myself a professional. I am working towards that. I love astrology. I don't know if you saw my Instagram over the weekend, this past weekend, I got this huge book. So cool. A new astrology book that, it's massive. Okay. But I just can't wait. It's got all the nerdy stuff in it. And yeah. Anyway. Okay. So a couple of things. March. So today is the new moon in Pisces. This is such a beautiful new moon. It's could be very emotional for some folks. You might feel like very tired, sleepy, dreamy. It's also a very intuitive time. It's a really beautiful time for creation and creating something new, or really dedicating yourself to creating something. What's really cool is I used an astrological election for March specifically to launch my business officially earlier today. So, in accordance with some of this new moon energy. And I'm excited. because I've got this beautiful energy wrapped around the beginning of the official start of the business, even though it's been in business for some time. It still is really important to do things intentionally, and there were some other decisions that I had to make, and I made them. And I made them. That's all I have to say. So if you're wanting to start something new or beautiful, I mean, you can do this a couple days after today. New moons are always a beautiful time for setting new intentions, for being like, okay, this cycle, I'm going to focus on this. Especially right now, anything to do with like your body, taking care of yourself, food, self-care, huge, huge, huge. And, might really be in alignment. It'd be great to pay attention as well to your dreams over the next couple days, see what pops up for you. So on the 6th of March, both Venus and Mars enter Aquarius. And this is going to be pretty interesting. So Venus and Aquarius, it's kind of like opposites in a way. Venus is, emotional, warm, loving, all about the beauty, whereas Aquarius is very intellectual, logical, can be a bit cold, those kinds of things. So they're not necessarily completely opposing, but yeah. So your emotions might feel a little bit dry, might feel a little bit chilly, but it should be like this energy will be very social, and you'll probably find yourself really kind of thinking with your mind versus your heart, especially when it comes to relationships this month. So while Venus is in Aquarius, and you just want to kind of pay attention to that when it comes to your romantic relationships, that you don't become too sort of logical or clinical in your thinking about them. I think it's always good to have the mind and heart in alignment, but if I'm going to choose between the two, I'm totally going to let my heart lead. That's a personal decision. Feel free to do what's best for you. Mars is, masculine energy. It's the doing. It's the go, go, go. And then again, the Aquarius is very much intellectual. And so between these two, you've kind of got some frenetic energy, right? It could be a bit all over the place, like you're bouncing back and forth between the intellectual Aquarius and then this very intense masculine energy, which is Mars. So in your life, if you start finding yourself getting really irritable, pay attention, because it probably means that you're not mentally stimulated enough in whatever it is that you're doing in life. It's a wonderful time, especially if you find yourself getting like triggered a lot, to like exercise, to move your body, to, be safe, by the way, but to get some of that energy out, because you're going to have a lot kind of going on within your body and then also within your mind, which can be intense and overpowering. So on March 9th, Mercury enters Pisces. And, Mercury was in Aquarius. And so it's kind of shifting from this sort of colder, logical sign into more of like a spiritual, emotional, dreamy, softer sort of energy. And this is going to be a really beautiful time for any sort of artistic things that you want to do, being creative. And when I say artistic or creative, I am not just talking about like painting or making music. I mean, like, accountants can be creative and artistic. Yeah. I was just going to be like taxes. I'm like, wait a minute, those are kind of the same thing. We can be creative in any endeavor. It's really more so about allowing these things to kind of come to the forefront. And it's going to be a really beautiful time for you to pay attention to your intuition, because it's not going to steer you wrong. And it'll be kind of linked up with your mental processes at this time, so it could be really clear. I should kind of say in the midst of, especially all of Pisces season. I love Pisces season. Pisces is probably one of my very favorite signs. I don't ever meet a Pisces that I don't love almost immediately. So I really enjoy Pisces season. And which is funny, like I don't have any placements. Pisces rules my 8th house, but that's the only Pisces I have in my chart. So But I'm a huge fan of Pisces. But anyway, all of Pisces season is very sort of creative and artistic and intuitive, and it's a really wonderful time to dive into writing or whatever the case may be, if that is something that calls to you. Just thinking about how that is, right? Again, we're all different. So on the 18th, full moon in Virgo. Virgo, it's earth sign, it's a really kind of ordered sign. So everything will be like subtle and grounded for this full moon. It's a really beautiful time to get things organized, and or to like I really should say not get things organized, but to dump anything that's keeping you from being organized. So whether you're in organizing like internally or externally in your life, it's really important. Disorder might be additionally triggering through this time, but try not to be obsessed about things that are not completely organized or in full alignment. Because Virgo can get really nitpicky and can kind of, and so if you find yourself in that space, especially with Mars in Aquarius, take a step back, see what's going on. The full moon is really about learning how to tolerate life's imperfections, right? Whether in people or in our life, our careers, or whatever the case may be. It's so important. And when we can do that, then we can really trust in the universe. And this full moon is asking us to surrender. Surrender to the process. Surrender to what we can't control. And then finally, I just kind of wanted to point out on the 20th, the Sun enters Aries. And like I talked about before, Aries is amazing. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's kind of considered the child, the archetype. But, Aries is oh man, it's got all of this energy, enthusiasm, and spontaneity. It's a really fun sign. At one point in time in my life, I was hanging out with these group of girls. I think there were 5 of them all together, and all but one were Aries. It was, I don't know, it was so much fun. We had a great time. But Aries is a wonderful sign, but it also has this other side of it. So you'll have tons of motivation for projects. You'll want to get things going. You're going to have, if you've kind of been kind of slurking through January and February, really looking for that energy to be reignited, then Aries season should probably definitely do it. Like I mentioned, Aries has that other side, that they can be really, really hot-headed, impulsive, having a quick temperament. So slow yourself down, kind of chill out, pay attention to how things are going. Okay, so those were the main astrological things I wanted to cover for this month. I will be including a link to the Astrology Podcast, which is I think my favorite astrology podcast. And I say I think because they're always changing, but I love it. Chris Brennan and his guests, they do an incredible job of really breaking down the whole month, then going week by week. So if you want to dive in and nerd out, highly recommend. Because there's obviously a lot more that's going on in March, but I just kind of wanted to share these high-level things with you. And again, I'm stoked to start doing these integration portions live because I'm totally going to get astrologers to come in. Anyway, I keep getting excited, so I keep mentioning it. All right, so this month's card I pulled from a new deck that I got. It's called the Sacred Creators Oracle by Chris Ann. And I was really excited to get this deck because I have really been trying to step into more of my creativity lately. I'm extremely creative. In fact, that is probably where my strongest strengths are. But because I'm also a very analytical and logical person and was certainly raised to be more of that, I've kind of overshadowed my creative side. mean, I used to like write poetry all the time. I used to and perform it out public. Like there's a lot of things I used to do that kind of got swept underneath the rug once I stepped into adulting, And I want to bring those things back into my life. So it's a really fun deck, a really easy deck if you're someone who is, not a pro at reading oracle or tarot cards. But it's just a beautiful deck for a creator soul, someone who wants to be more creative in whatever way. So the card that I pulled for the month of March is called Overthinking Can Spoil the Magic. Okay, so some of the meanings here are finding inspiration, new beginnings, setting out on your own path, following your intuition, trusting in the universe source, the courage to begin new projects, having a positive mindset, recognizing serendipity and opportunity. So I think that's in total alignment with everything we've talked about from the reading to the astrology. The self-care message that's associated with this card is naively jumping into something new with both feet, in that being a good thing. Analysis paralysis and the fear of making the wrong decision. Movement and progress blocked by your own doubts, not trusting your gut, worrying about outcomes before you begin, blocking or disregarding your intuition, obsessive planning, perfectionism. Ooh, sounds like a full moon in Virgo to me. Need to learn new skills along the way. So this is the trust card, the go card, the finding the courage to step out card. It's a reminder to take action when you are feeling inspired by a big idea and to use the delicious energy of new beginnings to sustain your motion as you move into the sacred flow of making it happen. It's time to allow magical things to take root. So there is such a thing as blocking your own magic by overthinking and sometimes trusting, and the unknown is exactly what you need to do. So jump in with both feet, bravely, passionately, foolishly even, because when you just know. Sometimes you feel the rightness of an opportunity as it blossoms in front of you. Embrace this divine timing and the authenticity of imperfection and leap towards your destiny. As you do, expect to uplevel your skills in order to integrate this new lesson and experience, because this sweet soul is where you learn to fly. What I thought was so cool about this card is the correlation with, being called to answer the call, to step into ourselves, to begin sharing our voice, to show up more in regards to who we are at core, not who the world wants us to be or anyone else. Because even in the midst of frenetic energy or things breaking down around us, which is just going to be happening in this day and age, we can still do magical things. And when we're able to disconnect ourselves and be true to ourselves, be true to our heart in the midst of everything that's going on, man, that's where the real magic comes in. So this is definitely going to be an intense month, but kind of like I shared from the very beginning, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to open up here and to be creative and step into more of who we are. And so I encourage you in that. All right, beautiful, beautiful souls. If you were inspired by this month's reading, let a girl know. Send me an email, soul-driven-podcast@gmail.com. Hit me up on social media. Say what's up. I hope that you will join me next month. The link will either be in the show notes or on my website under events, so you can check it out there. And be sure to sign up for the email list to receive podcast updates, other helpful resources that I send out. It's the only place I get super personal. So if you want to get personal with me, come and join my newsletter. Much love to you. Much love in the week ahead. And don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next week.